live stream. Right, we're on, and as I say, stop swearing now, please.
You got no
Children,
chance.
children, no, no. There's children in the effing audio. Upsy daisy. So if I just go onto Facebook here and go to my page, because you're not on Facebook.
I'm not.
No, that's okay, because I'll put this up on YouTube afterwards, and I'll also chuck it up on Telegram as well. So ding ding, it says, should say ding dong round two.
I'm clicking okay.
Okay, that's looking good. So if anybody wants to make comments, we'll try our best to have a look at them as we go
Okay.
along.
Gotta make sure my
Stacey,
water's in check.
dudette. You call me
Lovely.
dude. I'm calling
Dude.
you dudette.
Yay. Love
How
it.
are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I say that it's so funny because about an hour ago, this wasn't put together. So you would have been like, hmm, that term, is it a catfish?
Yeah, yeah.
I'd be deemed a catfish, dude. Like literally just yeah, putting shit together to be presentable, I would state. But yeah, in all
Well,
situations, I
I
guess
can't
I'm
be
doing
asked
good.
doing that now. Maybe it's not so important for the fella, but I just turn up as I am, and think I used to do all that stuff, and get me best side in. Till somebody said you haven't got a best side. I thought, oh, fuck off. Right. But that's basically my attitude to life now. Gosh, fuck off. Just
Yeah,
get on with it. Get
just
on
deal
with
with
it,
it.
right? Who cares whether the earth is flat or round? Who cares? Who
It's true.
cares whether we're hybrid humans that have been infiltrated in the fall from grace by the Anunnaki because they were running out of gold? Who cares?
Who
What
cares?
difference does it make to anything at all?
Like any of it. And that's so funny that you brought that up because literally that's been the theme of my week. I heard something about Keanu Reeves. He went to someone's, I think it was the director's house for Matrix or something. And the little girl asked him what the plot of the Matrix was, and he sort of went in depth and said it was about this guy trying to figure out if it was real or not. And she was like, "Why?"
Yeah,
And he was
exactly.
like, "Well, what do you mean?" And she was like, "Well, does it matter if it's real or not real?" And I was like, oh, "That little girl, she's so profound. Does it matter, dude? Does it really matter if it's real or not? Like either way, like who gives a shit? It's what it
Exactly.
is, man, and we're here doing it. So,
Well,
oh,
my,
who
my
cares?
my thing a long time ago became focus on feelings first, and as I said last time, that stands for F off.
Yeah,
Focus on feelings first.
I like that, dude.
End of story. Because if it gets into your head, it starts munching away and it'll present you with about a million different variables to
Mm-hmm.
get distracted by, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And in the end, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You just
So,
tunnel into stuff that you don't want to get into, and then it just
yeah,
leads down other things, and before you know it, your head's up your bum.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And my head was up my arse like for years and years and years, trying to work it out, trying to ask the experts out there how I should live my life. What should I choose? Right.
Hmm.
And somebody said to me, why don't you just like resign from the debating society and just get a fucking life? Right. You don't have to please anybody else.
Hmm.
Please yourself first and be honest about it.
It's
Because
true.
then society comes in and says, ooh, he's such a selfish bastard. In all he
Hmm.
does is please himself. Do you want to know the biggest lie I ever got told? You can only get to heaven by helping others.
What? Oh, there's just so many, like, yeah, everyone's got these beautiful things that they can say, but until you're doing it yourself, like, fucking try doing it yourself and then see where you get, because, yeah, I think that's the point I'm at now. It's like, stop trying to be spiritual. The whole awakening process is like, right, how do I get more spiritual? Do I do more yoga? Am I doing more grounding? Am I doing more meditation? Like I was tiring myself out trying to find all these new ways to try and be more spiritual because now I'm had this awakening and I'm going through this process and I just found myself chasing my tail trying to be more spiritual. And that's when, like I was just saying to you a minute ago, that's when I just got so pissed off with Source. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, I've done so much trying to be more spiritual and I'm none the wiser. I give up. That's it. I'm not doing it anymore. And then we had this to and fro. And it wasn't until I sort of come back with my tail between my legs and I'm like, okay, I stopped having a strop now. It was just so basic. It was like, just do what you're doing. That's you at your highest spiritual purpose, is just do what you do. dig deep and do you, show up how you know how to show up. Like, stop trying to do all these things. Like, if you feel to do yoga and you want to learn how to yoga, awesome. If you feel to go and work with crystals because you want to work with crystals, awesome. All these things we are called to, dude, I've done them all. I'm like, fuck, quick, give me that one. I'll try that one and I'll try that one. And I love them all. And they're all awesome practices because it's in your toolbox. But you don't have to do all these things in order to find that purpose. It's just you are the purpose. Just
I couldn't.
finding you in all of this is your purpose. And yeah, I've stopped
That's it.
digging.
That's it. Couldn't agree more. And when somebody says, "What do you want to do?" and you say, "Well, I'd like to do this," and they say, "Well, I think that you should do this," it's okay to say, "Fuck off and get out of my face."
Or you do it. If you think I should do
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
why don't you try it and then you tell me, and
What?
we'll see where we
Why?
go.
Why don't you want to do it? Because I don't feel like it. I don't
Mm-hmm,
feel like it.
mm-hmm,
Well, surely, when they start on that one, and then the
mm-hmm.
marketing comes in, then surely this would improve your spiritual condition. There's fuck all wrong with me spiritual condition. Thank you. Right.
You know
So
what?
go and piss off. Piss off and go and pester somebody else.
I kind of got stubborn. I had actually admitted it this week. Like, I've not actually said I was stubborn. I said it this week, and one of my friends was laughing. It's like, oh my God, Stacey, you actually said you're stubborn. I was like, yeah, I finally broke it. But yeah, I think I've always kind of been stubborn with that way. Like, people will say stuff, and it's like, I just, when a baby is small and they have this cry, and it's just the baby's cry. So you have these adaptations that, if they're wet or they need feeding, or they're
Yeah.
just they're just crying. That's how they're vocalizing. They're okay, or they're tired, they're going to sleep. So you have these ways of attuning your ears. As soon as someone comes in and starts trying to tell me, like, my ears do this thing, and I think I get like elevator music or something, because I'm just like, I'm gonna do what I want anyway. So you're just literally wasting your breath. But do your thing, they're gonna say what they're gonna say.
No, I agree now, and because I get that same thing, it comes up. The first thought is, "Oof, get away from me," right?
Mm-hmm,
The second thought is, drop your guard, Joe, because it's
mm-hmm,
a guard. The
mm-hmm,
first one's like an ego defense, whether be like and it comes in that quickly, you can't do much about it. It's
mm-hmm.
what you do with the second thought. And my
Yeah, fair.
second thought is, be kind, Joe. Listen to what they've got to say,
Mm-hmm,
because there may be a nugget in there for you. So
mm-hmm,
I listen to everything that everybody says if I can. But I sit it in my heart, and then I say to my heart or my soul or spirit, "Is that for me? Not at the moment, Joe. Let it
mm-hmm.
go." And that's all I do these days.
Yeah, that's
And
beautiful.
don't get me wrong, it's taken a long time to let go of all the other shit. You know what I mean? And there may be a big whopper waiting around the corner tomorrow to catch me out again. But I don't care anymore
Mm-hmm,
because Stacey, at the beginning of every day, I say a little thing to me heart. Give me the courage and the strength, right, to keep myself healthy and well, and if possible, to help other people, right,
mm-hmm,
without harming anybody. Thanks very much. Give us a shout if you need me, and then I get on
mm-hmm.
with my day then, basically.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, I should have made a disclaimer at the beginning. Today is what I would note as like a Bam. I wouldn't watch Bambi today because, like,
No.
I'm so on the verge of just crying. So that was beautiful, Joe. That would, bring the blubs out, because that is what it is. It's that gratitude and that honoring space, and just, yeah, starting your day with that glorification of, whoever we call source or God or the energy or whatever, just starting the day in that gratitude, and then just seeing, yeah, like you said, it could be a boulder waiting. You
Yeah,
open your bedroom door and get knocked on your ass, but that's what's due, right? That's what's coming. And then what is in it? There's a lesson in every single stumbling block. There's a lesson in everything that's presented. It doesn't matter how big or how small, or how many times we talk about these things. Like, the conversations are going over and over and over about how we're supposed to deal with these things, but it's getting back to how we all individually do it. And what you said in regards to hearing, I do listen. In regards to hearing, I do listen. I'm not ignorant. So when people do say stuff like, but if I know that if I'm listening to spirit, spirit will let me hear the nuggets that I need to hear. If I know that I'm listening to someone waffle on, I will. I'm not horrible and I'm not ignorant. So I will, like, generally let some filter through. But I know now that my main thing is I'm completely, and I have on this, I can say with hand on heart, I've given it all over to spirit. I've literally said, I'm full on listening now. I am. Because at the time when I had that little tantrum, it's because I wasn't listening. I was like, why am I not getting these answers? Why am I not getting my questions answered? Why? And it's literally, then I had that tantrum. And then it was like, because you're not fucking listening. We're telling you, and it really was. And it was just like, right, okay. So as much as I'm rambling now, dude, for the best part of this week, I've been silent. I've gone into mute mode and my kids love it. My kids are like, she's not talking. What can we eat? What can we do? Because mom's not saying nothing. But yeah, I've literally gone into mute mode because spirit is so loud right now. And it's just listening to what that next usherance or guidance is. So yeah, just walking out your bedroom door and seeing what it's bringing in is an awesome feat, dude.
To thine own self be true. That's it. And apparently, over the portal of the oracle at Delphi, it just says, at that portal in the place where the oracle was, it just says, know thyself.
Know thyself.
Know thyself. And from there, choose. I put the last bit in. Be yourself and choose from there.
And that's hard enough.
Yeah.
Right?
And then the next thing, but what will they think of me if I choose this? Who cares?
It's true.
Who cares what they think of you? You're not trying to harm anybody. You like a laugh and a joke. Be yourself. Be yourself.
And the ones that stick around are the ones that are meant to stick around, and the ones that don't won't.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't matter, because if you're coming out with light and love and gratitude, and like you said, you're not out to harm anybody. There's no harm in what you say, even like the best bit of advice that you could give, you start off with, I'm saying this because I love you. It's always presented with love. Like, I love you this much that I'm honoring myself to tell you what I'm hearing. It's generally probably not coming from us anyway.
Yeah.
It's something that's being channeled, so as long as we're not doing anything to harm, and that's a self-checking. Am I doing good? Am I doing good? Is this for the right reasons? Before you say something, am I saying this for myself, or is this for a higher purpose? The dents that I've got in my tongue.
You know what? I don't even do that now. I just say it, you know what I mean? And I just, because I've held stuff back because my head comes in. And I realized again, that's so deeply socially conditioned. Respect your elders, respect authority, respect the police, respect the fuck. I don't. And as for sending out love and light, I've knocked all that in the head as well. Because I feel that it's mostly like big, dark, oily, black stuff that comes out of me, but it seems to be helping people. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, but I don't reckon so. I reckon whenever you spill out, Joe, I reckon that it is just filled with purity, because how you come across, like you do, you just come across with so much joy and so much compassion. And it doesn't matter how much you say, but I feel you, dude. I
know that.
And I know how it comes through. So no,
same here, kiddo, same here.
Anyone that's around you to know that whatever's coming out of your mouth, like the ones that stuck around, is because they know. They know. So
yeah, I've had a lot of people saying to me that maybe you should tone down the swear. Tone down the swearing. And I go, I'll give that some thought. No, fuck off. right.
Yeah, let me mull that one over.
Is there anything else that you think I should do? Right. And I say, like, here's a carrot. Why don't you go? Anyway, you can do with that with the carrot. But light-heartedness is the key. That light-heartedness is the thing that neutralizes gravity. Because gravity means grave, and light-hearted is levity. It's the opposite of gravity. And there's no doubt about it. I work in the medicine and in health. I'm in hospitals all the time. I'm laughing and joking. Most of the staff are looking at me as if to say, you shouldn't be laughing and joking. There's people dying in here. Right. We've been programmed, or we've allowed ourselves to be programmed into an upside down way of thinking. And that's changing now. People like us, we're getting woken up to all this sort of lunacy, and there's more and more people seeing the truth of what's gone on, really. And I think that I said to you before we started, I think the gentle Jesus, meek and mild, he's left the building,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I think in me, and this is just the way I see things, and I could be totally wrong. In me, I see that the energy of the moment demands a different sort of attitude, right? And I think for me, just sitting there in meditation and sending out love and light, that doesn't work for me. I
Mm-hmm.
think that I have to get up and actually do something and just be straightforward, cut
Mm-hmm.
through all the shit and the storytelling and all that, and just say, you ask me what I see, this is what I see. You ask me what I think, this is what I think. You've asked me how I feel, this is how I feel. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if they object to that, it's nothing to do with me then. And if it really upsets somebody, that's got nothing to do with me
Mm-hmm.
because they asked, I was honest, they
Mm-hmm.
felt the reaction. It's
Mm-hmm.
something in them that they need to look at, not something to change me. Fucking hell, I'm
Okay.
on one tonight.
I love it. I love it when you're on one, but that's totally right, Joe. It really is. There is no more babying of this stuff because, like I just did say it a second ago, and I sort of said it in a few videos as well. Like we used all these terms so much about being our authentic self and all this spiritual gobbledygook that people have got so lost up in all of that kind of stuff that it's kind of like a comfort blanket or some sort of cotton wool. But it's like time for the band-aid to be ripped off. Like me and you are out here doing this shit. Like it's not fucking easy. It's not. But yeah, still like every time we come on, we're laughing, we're smiling, and I know there's a lot of times where I've probably done videos as well before, and people are like, well, I don't feel like that. And I do sympathize with people that are having shit. I have shit days too. I have days where I'm like, fucking hell again. I gotta do it again. Today's another one.
Oh,
But
yeah, of course.
but we're here and we're doing it. And then what's the purpose? Because if we're in this community and we're listening to each other and we're putting these messages out and we're talking all this stuff all the time, it's because we know that somewhere in whatever we're saying, there's a nugget of truth. And there's someone that will resonate with what we're saying and like, yeah, that's happening to me too. Okay, I get it now. It's those trigger elements to show that we're all doing this together. We're all a part of something that's happening, this movement, this motion. I don't know what it is. I'm a part of this community. I know I've had a spiritual awakening. I know I'm having all sorts of fucking activations and stuff happening to me, but I am not an expert. I'm not sure if anyone actually is. We're all just out here giving our details of our experiences, but trying to grab and gribble over things all the time to like get yourself out of these situations. It's good to find, like I said before, it's good to find tools to put in your toolbox to help you on your dailies, but keep going over the same shit over and over again is not going to help. Like you're not going to get out of anything, or there's nothing to get out of. There's really nothing to get out of. The situation is you're in what you're in and it is what it is, and we do have the ability to change how we look at things, and the outlook on stuff can change our outer reality. And I can say that because I've seen shifts in things that I do. But I also know sometimes if I get out of my box, that spirit will put me back in it and be like, well, you thought you learned that lesson. Let's go again. But it's just what we're doing as individuals. And dude, it's hard out here. It is. And there's other shit going on without this, and the fact that I don't even look at what is out there, dude, I don't know what the fuck I would be in if I was caught up in all of that as well. I'm so glad people are like, you don't have Facebook, you don't have Instagram, you don't have Snapchat, you don't. No, dude, there's a fucking good reason why I don't have all that shit. I stopped watching television for a reason. I can't do that stuff as well. And, help yourself. Help yourself. Like Dr. Joe said, it starts with like what was the fuck off thing?
Yeah, focus on feelings first.
Focus on feelings first and trying to just finding things that feel good to you, right? Finding things that heal you, soothe you, are gentle to you. And that's the best way to give love to others, because you're giving that love to yourself and figuring out those, I don't even want to say broken parts because it's not broken. It's not things that need to be fixed. It's just every day there's a new essence of something. And whatever's happening now, Joe, I don't know. Like I know that these energies are They're weird,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
And I can tell it in the weather.
yeah,
The
yeah.
weather is so bizarre. Like, I know there's some weird shit going on, but like you said, there's no point questioning it anymore.
Well, how about perceived brokenness?
Okay.
Because I think the problem is with the human being is misdirected instincts and faulty logic. I think that's the only thing where we've been guided away from our essential selves. This is how I see it. So the way we see it, I like the phrase, it's a bit ucky, like, but it says, we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. So rather than changing what's going on out there, if we change the way that we see things in here, get a different perspective, maybe a heart-centered perspective, the world out there changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's true, isn't it? That that thing that we see out of our eyes is the past. It's a
Mm-hmm.
projection of what's already been processed in all our minds. So if people could only understand that, like I didn't have a clue what it was about, but I see it clearly now that what I process in here and take action upon either makes the world a better place, right, or a not so good place. So I think that once people can individually wake up to just that, it's the way we process information and act upon it.
Mm-hmm.
That's either going to improve things or make things worse.
Mm-hmm.
So are you helping or are you harming? And
Yeah.
that's it, really. It's that clear. So all this good and bad, if
Mm-hmm.
you can feel it in your heart, if I take this action, will it be helpful to me,
Mm-hmm.
my health, the health of those around me, and maybe even help others? Yes, take the action. If the answer's no, don't take the fucking action. If the
Mm-hmm.
answer's not quite sure, don't take the action until you're quite sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's dead simple, isn't it?
It's so true. And our
And
bodies
the
are just
thing
like,
is, and if it's not joyful or there's no enthusiasm, Stacey, I wake up every morning, right? In the first 10 minutes, it's like, oh, just fucking kill me now. God, I've had enough, right? No, that's every single morning, right? That's the first thought. Because I have to swing my legs out of bed and think, fucking hell, my back's killing me and this, that, and the other. And then I get, well, you're nearly 70 now, you old bastard, right? And I get, okay. And then I go, hang on a sec, hang on. I open my heart up and I go, okay, what's on the cards today? And the answer is normally, oh, get over your fucking self. That's the first thing. This is how my higher power talks to me. Get over yourself, you old get, right? What would you like to do today? And then I sit there and it's almost like a menu of options comes in from somewhere. You know, do I want to go down the gym and do an hour's training? Yes, that'll do. Or no, can't be bothered. Okay, well, do you? So that's how I sort of start my day. I invite my heart and soul in and I allow it to give me the menu of options on
Mm-hmm.
what to choose from. And then I try and use it then to feel where my most enthusiastic feelings are.
Yeah,
And
dude.
then I construct me to-do list,
Mm-hmm.
not from me head, but from me heart. And
It's so
it
true.
has become that simple. And people are saying to me, when I get into company, they're saying to me, who you gonna vote for? Saying to me, who you gonna vote for? If they fucking I said, who you gonna vote for? I've no idea. What do you mean you've got no idea? Have you seen what's going on and all this? I said, hang on a sec, hang on. I said, I'll decide, first of all, on the day
Mm-hmm.
whether I'm gonna vote, right? Oh, you've got to vote. It's your right. Hang on a second. Hang on a
You've
second.
got to. As soon as someone says you've got
You've
to.
got to. Am I really? Am I really? Right. Well, I think I'll go for the I'll vote for the Conservatives. They seem, then a kick off. Then I'll vote for the Conservatives. They seem like a trustworthy bunch. And then all the people I'm with, then they're all kicking off. Then and I think, oh,
You
just
just
sure.
start the rumble. You just sit in
Yeah.
the middle and just go,
I
hmm.
said, you started this by asking me the question, right? But that's what I do. There's a phrase that says, I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
Hmm.
That's my life. I
Yeah.
don't know what's coming up tomorrow. I literally only live one day at a time. And I make the best of it as best I can. And at the end of the day, I clean the sheet off and I start again the next day. It's become that simple.
Yeah.
Stacey, I've got no idea what's coming at me
Hmm.
because I think that my future is almost it's almost already written because
Hmm.
that's my soul's purpose, if you like. And I think it's coming at me and I've got to use my so-called skills and abilities to make the best of the day,
Hmm.
depending on what comes at me.
And that's why we get them tools, right? That's why I was saying I'm not down on the yoga or the, you know, the things that I was saying, because I've used all these tools, the cards, everything that could have been deemed spiritual. I've put it in my box. I've learned it. So there could be a day when I'm stood there and I feel like crap, and I'll just go into the downward dog just because I can. Because at that minute, that's what my body is telling me to do. And after like 2 minutes of doing a bit of yoga and a bit of breathing, then something else will come through. Or I'm told to go and clean that area in the house, or go and take that walk, or, you know, just certain things. Like, dude, the way that I said to you that spirit's coming through at the minute, it's so loud.
Yeah.
So the only way you can do it, and you know that dude, Eckhart Tolle is his name, The Power of Now. You know, when I first started like the whole reawakening process, which was probably about 5 years ago now, and all these information things started coming in, I was like gobbling Abraham Hicks and Eckhart Tolle and stuff, and The Power of Now. You know, I had his books, and it was all about obviously the being in the now, being in the now. And, you know, you're trying to being in the now. Oh, I'm really trying to be in the now. Now it's actually, like you said, moment to moment. You can just be in the now. How am I feeling at this point? Oh, I want to drink. Okay, my body's thirsty. I need a drink. What would I like to do now? Well, there's something happening over there. I don't quite know what it is, but I need to go there. Like, just any small things. Like, I'm going to share a story with you now. This is quite funny. Not really if you're in my world, but I have a spider that lives in my room, and he's a really awesome spider. And this might creep people out or whatever, but you know, it is what it is. And I've never done this before, but this is a thing that I've been doing. I've been feeding the spider because it's holed up in a place where I'm thinking, dude, you're not going to get any food where you are. And at the minute, we're kind of having summer, we're kind of not. So my fruit every now and again is attracting these really annoying fruit flies. So every now and again, I will grasp a fruit fly and sort of put it in the direction of my spider and give it something to eat, because it keeps me company. I really like him. So anyway, I have been doing this for several weeks, and I was kind of concerned the other day that he wasn't really gaining weight or looking too healthy. So I've been a bit worried about him. And then this morning, Joe, I was woken up at a really precarious time by this bzzz around my head. And I was like, I really don't like flies when I'm sleeping, because guaranteed that's going to go in my mouth. I'm going to eat it. It's going to go in my mouth. So I got up and I opened the window and I'm like, right, dude, I'm going to let you go. So I went off, used the ladies' room, came back, and I was hoping to close the window and the fly was gone. So I'm like, oh, fly's gone. Close the window, got back into bed, sort of snuggled down, and I could hear like this buzzing noise. And I was like, oh, it's not a fly, it's a mosquito. It's here somewhere. But then I look over to my spider and it was in his web. And I was like, oh my God, what have I just witnessed? Like, what? Like, dude, what have you just done? That's thank you. Thank you. If you can see the corner of where this spider is, Joe, you wouldn't think this fly would go that low to get into that space. And I swear to goodness, that moment I had then between me, Source, and the spider, I felt really gutted for the fly, I must admit, because I did give it an entry out. But that was Source guided, you know, at that very moment. And it's just those sort of things that I'm just like, this is what I'm a part of. And I'm a part of that because I listen to those directions. I know I shouldn't interfere in nature by, you know, but we feed our pets, we give them meat and things, you know, we go and do these sort of things. So in that sense, I kind of felt like I was doing a service to this spider. And today I was honored by receiving something back in that moment. And it was that point, like I kept trying to go back to sleep and waking up and looking. I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of you. You know, like, oh, my little baby's grown up. It was another
You
one
might
of
think that
that.
you're mad sharing this, but when I share with you what goes on in our house, right, we'll become
Yeah,
even
I'm glad I
better
was able
friends,
to. I'm glad that I
right?
was able to share that. But it was, dude, it got me emotional. Like it
Yeah.
was a really emotional part of my journey, literally because I've been doing the listening.
Well, we've got two rescue cats. The old one, Pumpkin. My wife, right? My wife doesn't do people at all. She can't do them. She's too sensitive to it all, right? But
Hmm.
she does animals, every animal, shape and form of animal, right? So we were driving one day and she said, you'll have to stop the car. And I said, why? She said, I can feel that there's something under that bush, right?
Oh,
And this was about 200 yards away. And I said, oh, bollocks. I said, I've got to get to work. So, you know, anyway, she dropped me off at the station. She went back, right? And she found a cat on its last legs under this bush, right?
Whoa.
And it was on like a farm place, you know. So she went in there, right? Got pumpkin. We got her to the vet. She wasn't chipped or anything like that. And she's now, I think we've had her for about 9 years now or something like that. She's old. Her kidneys are going and all that, but she's like my daughter, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't have to say anything to her. I just, hello, darling, you know. And then
Oh.
we got another one called Griselda.
Mm-hmm.
Cost us a bleeding fortune. We had to get it from Cyprus. So she
Whoa.
had to, it was during, I think it was during COVID. She had to go from Cyprus to Germany, from Germany to Heathrow. Then she had to be transported for 5 hours up to us, you know.
Whoa.
So that's Griselda. But you know, these two, they're like our kids, you know, and we've got such a strong relationship with them. We're going on holiday in a couple of weeks and they're coming with us. But it costs a bleeding fortune because we have to hire a car that's big enough. But the other thing is, we've got to take like this fish tank. And in this fish tank, there's not fish. There's about 30 snails. Because my missus, she looks at the snails and she can spot a snail from about half a mile away in distress.
Dude, we are literally in sync. I have two rescue cats that I house, and snails are my forte. We have like a snail farm in the garden. Oh my goodness, this is just crazy. And yeah, you can hear them. You can hear them. Dude, I feed the freaking snails. I feed them. You know, they love cat food.
Right.
They
Well,
love
Catherine, every night before we go to bed, she's doing it with this. She's got carrots, have to be organic, by the way. Organic carrots, lettuce. She's got a whole like smorgasbord, right, for these snails. So these snails have fallen on their feet or they've fallen on their
on
pods
their
or
slump.
whatever. But that's not the only thing. Catherine, my missus, I mean, she's bloody amazing, really,
Yeah,
right?
that's
But
awesome.
she can hear when a bee is in distress, right? So
Wow.
she'll come out from the garden in a tissue. It'll
Oh,
go in like we've got these like special receptacles, they're like incubators to keep
oh,
them warm overnight. So that's our whole place. We're fortunate to live in a farmhouse cottage, you see.
well,
And
that's
the other
beautiful.
day, on the telephone wire, right, there was a woodpecker, right,
No
an
way.
owl, magpies, crows, seagull, a whole load of them. And every
Wow.
morning and every night they all get fed. It's costing us a bleeding fortune. But do
Dude,
you know
I think
what?
that's what's happening. Is that something that's happening because the starlings here, they've had their babies, they're bringing their babies here to learn how to feed. I've watched the mums teach the babies how to eat the cat food and like swallow it, get it in their throats. And now the babies are here feeding too. So now I'm feeding snails, I'm feeding cats, I'm feeding birds, and I'm feeding their babies. It's crazy. And I think that's the thing that's happening. It's like what is it, Dr. Doolittle? We're doing
But
the
that's,
Dr.
I
Doolittle
think,
thing.
do you know what? I've got more empathy now for animals than humans. I'm not being funny. This is true. I'm being honest, right? That I look at most humans and I think, oh, fucking get out of my face. And I'll spend more time. I see a dog. It's almost like I can speak to a dog. It's
Hmm.
faces and stuff because I get on great with animals, you know.
Yeah,
So
dude.
all that seems to be happening now. That I'm
Hmm.
being guided more and more to what's natural and
Hmm.
away from all this pretentious shit that we've been living in. And don't get me wrong, I was like Mr. Pretentious for years because I thought that was the way it was supposed to be, you know.
Hmm.
But I've realized now that no, you just have to be your honest self. And you know, when you say be yourself, what I
Hmm.
realized is I thought I was being myself. Couldn't have been further from the truth. I was
Hmm.
just like some sort of programmed automaton that had been fed the lines from a very early age.
Hmm.
And that basically was blocking me because I never felt joyful. I never felt like I fitted in. I was always afraid, you know.
Hmm.
And that's why I got addicted to alcohol. Because when I got a few down me, boof, it all started to come out, you know, and I was free.
Yeah.
But I was trapped, free at one point and trapped at another point, you know.
Hmm.
And this
Because
is
it
my
was just
thing
like
about
an
drinking, drugs, and
overspillage.
all that now. My personal experiences, I've done like nearly all of them in the world, you know, even like injecting myself with Russell Viper venom to see what that would do and all this sort of bits.
Whoa,
Oh, yeah.
dude.
They used to call me he who speak with forked tongue, you know, after me and all this sort of stuff.
Damn.
But the point is, that was a part of my life where I realized that the alcohol and some of the drugs and stuff like that, they gave me freedom.
Hmm.
But I personally think, for me, I've got to be clean and sober and get to the feelings, the well-being factor. I've got to do it naturally. And
Yeah,
what anybody else does is their concern.
that's
But this
right.
is this is where I'm up to at the moment,
That's right. And
I've
that's the
gone on a
thing.
lot there really, but
No, that's
yeah, yeah,
beautiful.
Dr. fucking Doolittle, excuse my
No,
French.
I do. I love it. I really do. And it's so true. It's what works for you, and it's again, like, as long as you're not harming others, and if you're doing stuff that is harming others and it's not good, there's we all have our ways. We all have our um things, our I wouldn't call them discrepancies, but we have stuff. We're here, we're experiencing, we're doing stuff, but it is getting back to these fundamental. Dude, it's so beautiful. It is so beautiful to honor a plant. Dude, back in the day, I'd have been like, shut up, what the fuck? What are you talking to plants? What? Dude, yeah, just the whole thing. And I get the bee thing. And before I would have ran a mile, I'd be like, I'm gonna get stung. Like, it's not cool, but I can stand there and have bees around me, and just the wildlife thing is there's something in what's coming through. There's something in this speech, this other thing that is happening. And I know that in general, like, because we're having this conversation, and those that are, and I do call it doing the work, because it is doing the work. When you get up every day, and you could quite easily just pull the duvet over your head and just say, not today,
Yeah,
which is also okay.
yeah,
Because there's days where you can do that. It's fine to do that. But this is something I wanted to share with you as well. Like, my two daughters were having a conversation the other day, and my 13-year-old daughter said to my my 21-year-old, she is now, she was like, with all this anxiety and stuff, she's like, I believe I've got anxiety. She's like, with all this anxiety, how do people cope in the world? How do they get on? How is anyone capable of doing stuff? Because they're seeing what's going on out there. They're seeing all the stuff that's going on out there. And they use these terms, anxiety and stuff like that. I'll allow for these words because we've got no other words, and we're not down for the whole psychic connection and telepathic communication right now. So we're using the words that we're given. I wouldn't use these words as anxiety. I think these are the things that we're feeling and we don't have other words for. But I know it's the infiltration of all the energy and stuff. So my oldest daughter, she was like, well, I kind of fucking just pretend like I ain't there. She's like, I'm just doing what I'm doing. She's like, because if I think too much about what all that is, I I will be stuck. I will not be able to move. And it was just that conversation, hearing them two having a conversation about this. Like, when I was a teenager, I didn't know about anxiety, Joe. I didn't know about these things. Like, I was a mouthy gobby cow that didn't have an issue talking to people. I did have fear. What did I have fear of? I don't know. Falling over in my high heels or some shit. I don't know. But to hear these generations having this conversation about being able to feel these energies and how they're moving through it, it's about listening. And I'm really, really lucky to be a witness to see how my children are finding how to navigate. They're really, 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 really big teachers in my journey, because I'm watching how they are navigating. And it's so awesome to know that even though they're using the words that we have, because we don't have any other words, they are finding tools by listening. They are hearing stuff for themselves. And I'm like, you are awesome. They'll come back and say, oh, is this, and this is that. And I'm like, but you're hearing it and you're doing it, and I'm always consistently in awe with this natural flow, that if there's no blockages with the fear, obviously, and the fear is real, but the fear is not real. So all these things it's so confusing. It can be really, really twisty and confusing, but just getting back to just that element of not doing, and just being, and just listening, and just, there's so much in it. I've heard all these conversations about, like, taking that pause before you speak and stuff, because there's so much. People think it's an empty space,
yeah,
like, oh no one's talking, we better fill that gap. But in that emptiness, there's so much going on, there's so much conversation, there's so much. I don't know what it is, Joe. I'm, like I said at the beginning, I'm not an expert at this stuff, but I'm hearing it, I'm feeling it, I'm sensing it. And in this gap, there is something phenomenal happening. And just by taking that time with the snails or the plants or them, you're getting that. It's like the, I don't know, you're a doctor, you'll be able to give me, like if you put like one electrical thing on this side and electrical and that thing happening in between, that's what's happening in that space. And it's so, oh, it's freaking awesome. It really was like just that thing this morning. Like I've been buzzing all day just because of that fly. The fly getting ate by the spider. It's going to be a story that I tell for a long time.
But this is what you've just said there is perfectly in line with what's coming to me as well. My job now, right? People ask me for advice, and I say I can't give you advice because the solution that you need is to be found in your heart and soul. I say this is where, right? So it depends whether you're being fed the lines from your heart and soul or fed the lines from your head. Because this is
Mm-hmm.
where the stinking thinking is. This is where the fear is. This is where all the patterns of shit are, right? This is where the cleaning, the solution is. Because a solution dissolves shit, doesn't it? You know.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Right.
more that we can have, this is just a metaphor, but the more that we can allow our heart to open and allow this flow to power us. So we're being powered then from the heart. The more
Mm-hmm.
it washes this away, we can't get shut of our head. But this can then come in the service of this rather than this be pushed down, right? Pushing our hearts down and suppressing and repressing and compressing and oppressing, all to do with pressure. So if you're not
Mm-hmm.
open and flowing, then there's some sort of repressing mechanism having a go at you. How do you
Mm-hmm.
know? Because you feel uncomfortable. So that's the whole thing. If you feel emotionally disturbed, stop. Say bugger all, take a
Mm-hmm.
step back, go into
Mm-hmm.
your heart, reconnect with that flow, and then ask the question, what do I need to do here? And you're not
Mm-hmm.
asking something outside of yourself, you're asking something deep inside yourself. It's called your innate intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was any unscrupulous forces, let's call them the opposition or the opponents, they would do everything in their power to distract you away from this feeling and get
Mm-hmm.
you hooked on Netflix. And we've got that girl singer, I don't know what her name is. There's three stadium fulls at Liverpool at the moment. The girl from America who's like a billionaire.
Oh, what? Not. Oh, there's a few. Not.
I've got no
Is
no
she a
idea.
Swiftie? Not Taylor Swift or
Yeah,
Ariana
Taylor
Grande.
Swift, that's her. Yeah, Taylor Swift. She's probably at this moment just started off over in Liverpool. The tunnels over to Liverpool have been blocked for hours. No one can get through. Right.
Oh my
Apparently, she was
goodness.
having a go at now. Good luck to the girl. Hey, she picked a good life, really, didn't she? You know, singing and getting all this dosh. And if that's her sole purpose, then good luck to her. You know what I mean? So, so she was in Glasgow apparently, and there was like a mini earthquake going on because everybody was dancing
Oh
and they could
my
feel the
days.
tremors going on. But
No
that's the
way.
power, though. Just
Mm-hmm.
imagine that power, right? I always think if there's thousands of people at these stadiums, just getting a quid off every one of them and putting it to
Mm-hmm.
a good cause, just something
Mm-hmm.
simple like that, you know what I mean? But this
Mm-hmm.
is the power of influence of music and
Mm-hmm.
light and peer
Mm-hmm.
pressure and all this sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If we could just flip that on our heads, because I think that we're going to have to sooner or later,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have to turn all that round and rather than sort of whittle it away, use it for like constructing a new world. I see I've become Preacher Joe all of a sudden.
Oh, I do. Do you not see? I love it. When
But
you
but
start getting into that zone, it's just, yeah, it's awesome.
yeah, but my job is I'm not against anything. I'm not fighting anything. People can think what they like. But if they're in trouble and they say to me, can you give me some advice? I can say, the only advice I can give you is what's happened to me. I realized I was thinking from here when I should have been
Mm-hmm.
feeling from here. So if you
That's
want
right.
me to show you how to get back in touch with who you really are, then I'll give you
Mm-hmm.
the technique, but I can't do it for you. And it's very,
Mm-hmm.
very simple. Well, they say, well, what do I do? And I say, you put your hand on your heart like that, right? Put your hand on your heart like that. Get a nice feeling, generate a nice feeling with some thought. And when you've
Mm.
got the feeling, dismiss the thought
Mm-hmm.
and breathe that lovely feeling in
Yeah,
like this.
man. Yeah.
And they'll say, well, what's that doing? I say, do that for 3 10-minute sessions a day. Your head will try and talk you out of it, but just say to your head, hang on, head, I think this might benefit us. So back off a bit while I practice it, because it seems to be working for him and thousands of others, right? And so I do that. Stacey changed my life. It changed my life because something went, boom, right, and it almost like reconnected. And from that moment, I kept sort of getting filled with like inspiration, intuition, and almost like even movement. And that's the thing now. If I don't know what to do and I'm not open and flowing, I can put my hands on my heart in a quiet moment and I can say, hello, heart. Anybody in there? Right? I'm a bit stuck here. I don't know which direction to go in. I wonder if you could possibly help me. And then I leave it then. I don't wait for an answer to come in. I go on with my day. And it's almost like somebody comes up and smacks me on there to say, go and turn left at the bottom of the road. And then I'll see somebody else as I'm walking down and go, hey, Joe, why don't you turn left at the bottom? And I think, fucking hell, you know. And you get about 3 or 4 or 5 same messages. And guess what? The old Joe used to turn right to think, I'm not having that, right? But I turn left a lot now. So that's where I'm up to. It's that simple, that this knows more about what this should do. So I try and help that to shut up and just listen to what's emerging from my heart now.
I think that's true love. I think,
So do
you
I.
know, when everyone's on this whole path of finding your soulmate and finding all that true love is that feeling. And it's what we can give to ourselves, because once I learned to love myself, that's what I reckon. Then I knew what love was, Joe.
Yeah.
You know, because I used to think loving, I've got so much love, I can give it to the world. You know, you can just pour it out. I love you so much. I love you so much. But that wasn't really what love was. That was giving an energy away, but it wasn't really what love was. And then obviously I did go through this whole thing like, oh, what, loving myself, that's kind of cheesy, like this whole love gushy thing, like you know, I was like that. It was very like really, really difficult for me to get over that hurdle. I could say I love you to my parents, or I love you to my friends, or, you know, a significant other, but to say I love myself, I used to feel like, you fucking weirdo. You know what? I love because you only talk like, oh, if you love yourself, you're conceited or egotistical and that kind of thing. But it wasn't until I was like, okay, I'm going to sit in this uncomfortable notion that I really do love myself. And do just to like one of my things, I'm going to sort of give away one of my little secrets now. When I go to bed, I'm just like, oh my God, I love you. And I'm not saying it to anyone. There's just this feeling of being so in love with something other than, it's not me, it's something. And it gives me that heart pulse. It does give me that can't breathe, can't, you know, that whole feeling that you feel like when you're going to meet that special somebody, but it's within. And it's knowing that that innate true love is within us. So that feeling, like you said, when you find that bit of joy, am I supposed to do it for that reason? And to get people to know what that boom, that feeling is when you get that, that's the thing, it's in there. And that's the true sense. That heart has got so much power within it. So yeah, the joy and the love from that feeling is, it's a beautiful practice that you're giving people when they ask for advice, because you can't give advice.
No.
You know, there's no advice to be given, and it's fruitless, because you can, if someone came and said, oh, how could I get through X, Y, and Z? And you can go, well, I've done this practice and this really helped for me.
Where's she gone? Hello?
I'm here, I'm back. Someone's probably used my microwave. That's what happens. Microwave gets used.
That'll be the opposition stopping you saying the good thing. Oh, look, you've gone again.
Don't go, Joe.
I mean, but you're right. You can't think your way into the feeling of true love. But I tried so much. So I generated all this sentimentality, but it was all made up, and therefore it was not true. It was pretend. So I know now that I've been in pretend love with many, many people my whole life, right? And it wasn't true. And when you start to see that, it's like, oh my God, my
Mm-hmm.
whole life up to this point has been false, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and it's almost like at first you can be furious because you feel like you've been duped, right? You know, because they say in Celtic mythology, they call it the fury, right? So when you have a spiritual awakening as such, because it's always there, it's just that you wake
Mm-hmm.
up to it, don't you? You know, and
Mm-hmm.
then for the next 40 years, you're just wiping the sleep out of your eyes as you see a little bit more, you know. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe honestly, and I know that you know this, we all only see a smidges of what's really possible. And how do
Mm-hmm.
we get to see a bigger picture? You share what you see, I share what I
Mm-hmm.
see, everybody shares it, you know. And so then it's
Yeah, that's
almost
right.
like there's a big collection of eyes then that forms into this great big all-seeing eye, and we all
Mm-hmm.
see the same picture then. I see,
Mm-hmm.
I've got no fucking idea what I'm talking about here, but I know what I know what it feels
Dude,
like.
it resonated. It
Yeah,
made so much sense to me, and you're right. Like you just go for it. I know there are religious texts and things like that, and we're not going to go down that route because there are books that can teach you how to live. But what I'm trying to say is there is no manual given to you to say this is how you're supposed to live. This is what life is. So you basically go through life reading books or learning from other people or watching television or seeing what things are from movie perspectives or so you put all these things in your box like thinking right now I'm doing what everyone else does, you know. Now I'm an adult, now I'm grown up, dude. I'm only just starting to feel like an adult. I'm only just
yeah.
starting to feel like a grown up. I'm like,
Yeah.
right, okay, this is oh right now this okay, yeah, now I get it. You know, it's fucking hell. I've been in this grown up stage for how long? And now I feel like a toddler in an adult's body. You know, like I'm just getting to the sense of, right, okay, now I'm getting it.
Yeah.
You know, because you're right. It's like being falsified with all this stuff. And, you know, we did get like little dribs and drabs, and you either took it on or you didn't. But yeah, it can be quite like a piss take. You think, oh my God, what have I been doing? What have I been doing? I thought I was doing it right. I thought I was doing it right all this time. And there is no right or wrong. We get it when we get it. And it's what we choose to do with it. But there's no more, like you're saying, like there's no more sitting down and just fucking crying about it. Get up. You know, get
If
up.
you
Here's my hand. You know, come on, come join me. I'm good. You're good. We're good. Let's go.
You talked about the tools that were given. I was given a set of tools. It was in Alcoholics Anonymous, right? And it's like it's a tough, it's the school of tough love, they call it, and I've always got that thing like that sword of Damocles hanging over me that unless I follow these spiritual principles, at one moment I could drink again, and I never believed that, right? Until it kept happening to me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I know now that unless I follow these spiritual principles, the spiritual principles are the way that I feel, not what I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Seat of thinking, right? All the shit's in there. It's
Mm-hmm.
what I feel. And they made me these promises. They said, if you follow the feelings of your heart, I'm paraphrasing a bit now, you will let me just try and get the promises. So if you follow the feelings of your heart, right, you will suddenly realize, right, you will be able to handle situations that used to baffle you, you know, and it gives you a whole list of promises. I'll put them up in the things after this here.
I think I'd like the promises, to be
Yeah, yeah.
fair.
Before you are halfway through, you are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. You see, here it comes now. Here comes the emotion that's coming with this because it's so important, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you follow the feelings of your heart, you are going to know, before you are halfway through, you're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. You will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. You will comprehend the word serenity and you will know peace. No matter how far down the scale you have gone, you will see how your experience can benefit others, right? You will intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle you, right? You will invariably find that it's something, and there's a whole load of promises there. And I used to think, what a load of shit. And you know what? They're all happening for me. They've all come true. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just by staying true to myself. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
I've made loads of mistakes, like everybody else, Stacey. I'm just trying to learn because every day there's another nugget. Let me just
Mm-hmm.
say this. this was called the mummy's curse, this, and we'll have to come back on again down the road,
Yeah, I'd
because
love to.
what I wanted to talk about is that poor old men are getting a bit of a beating at the moment, right? For being the
For a
narcissists,
while,
for
right? They've been
being,
getting a lot of shit for a
yeah,
while, and I think it's
because
like
we've
fucking
lived
time
in
to
this
ease off.
so-called patriarchal society for eons of time and all this bollocks, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Now, I know a lot of women.
Don't,
I know a lot of women who are
honest.
starting to like learn how to shoot guns and go to kung fu and all this,
Well,
almost as
only
if,
just.
yeah,
Fucking hell. Only
almost,
just.
almost as if they've got to go and like get their own back on from what they've done to them, you know what I mean? But in the great scheme of things, I can see that mothers have such a powerful influence on their children. And because
Hmm.
they're children, and this is my life, because they're children or the kids, they don't want to upset mum generally. They hang off
Hmm.
every word, right?
Hmm.
And I did until I was 38 years of age, because I allowed my mother, it was written in my soul's contract, right? I did everything that she suggested for my life, right? And when I didn't do what she wanted, she used to give it to me good style, you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, we've all got a part to play in this. And I know there are certain politicians over time who've been totally afraid of their mother, and they've basically followed their mother. So it's their mother's guidance that have
Hmm.
caused them to be into positions of power that can harm people. And
Hmm.
politicians are like this because they're terrified of the mums. And if you
Hmm.
look at the cultural thing about mums and how powerful they are,
Hmm.
look at the Italian mafia, right?
Yeah,
Look
man.
at I'm talking about certain cultures where it's prevalent, that the mother's the boss, right?
Hmm.
Now the thing is, what I don't know what I'm saying here much, but what I'm trying to say is, hang on a sec, girls, take a step back and take responsibility here for your
Hmm.
part in what's going on here, right?
Yeah,
And
man.
I, and I don't know what
100%.
this is about, but parenting's so important. And what I'm trying to say is, if your life has been guided by the wishes and the whims and the direction of your mum, that might have taken you away from who you essentially are. So what I'm really getting back
Hmm.
to is a big thing. This is parenting to me, especially mums, is to feel into who their child is and to guide
Hmm.
them into the direction of who they essentially are, and not try and kick. See, I don't know. This is quite serious, and I got this
No,
clearly,
this is
you know, and
beautiful.
I got, there's no blame going on here. It's been a big
Hmm.
misunderstanding, you know what I mean? But my mum, when I was young, she gave me a poem to say that your mother is the best person you will ever know. She will always be your friend. You can tell anything to your mother. And the last line says, and one day she's gonna die. Right. This is when I was seven.
Oh my
This is when I'm
God.
fucking 7 years of age. Right, you know what I mean?
Oh my God.
So talk about the
Oh.
guilt trip, and I'm your mother, and I know you better than you know yourself. You know now.
Do you know
So
what? That's just Joe. You know, it's awesome because, like, literally, I'm gonna flip things on the head quickly. Like, when I realized, like, certain things were a whole bag of shit. Like, I was raised by a stepdad, and I didn't even know it was my stepdad till I was like 19. So I was like living by this man's way of thing and the discipline and blah 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 blah. So this was kind of where things got flipped over for me because, like, he would say, "I brought you into this world, and I can take you out." When I learned that he was my stepdad, I was like, "You mother, butter," you know,
yeah,
in that kind of word that wanted to come out. Like, really? So all this time I've been concerned that you're the one that seeded me and blah blah blah, or whatever the case was. But Joe got to the situation that I realized that I was not going to raise my children how I was raised or how I was brought up, dragged
yeah,
up,
yeah, yeah,
you know. And what you're saying is completely true because that is why I chose to give my children the option to be homeschooled. And it was an option. I did take them out and I've given them the opportunity to be homeschooled. And at any point, I said they could go back to school if they wanted. They chose to stay. The only one that chose to go back to school was one of my eldest boys. And he decided for himself, Joe, that he wanted to do that. And I was like, but that's your decision. You know, that was he did do the homeschooling thing for a year. It wasn't for him. The rest of my six children decided that they wanted to be homeschooled. And it was not the fact that I am guiding these children on what they should be doing, because each and every single one of them are completely different, completely different. And if I was the one putting them in the box, then they would be the same. They would be looking the same. They would dress, they've all got different hairstyles. They've all got different tastes. They all do different things. And that is because I know that yes, I gave birth to them. Yes, I'm their mother, but they're just like me. I'm just like them. We're all here trying to figure this out. So I do obviously put rules in place. I'm a mum and I'm the one that's here to keep them safe and put regulations on certain aspects of things, but not who they are, who they choose to be and what they do. I've got one son who's got dreadlocks. I've got another daughter who's got a mohawk. I've got,
Brilliant.
and it's awesome to see that they are individually plotted as their own people. And I be a better mother. Have I dipped out again?
Yeah, you did. You did. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got really bad Wi-Fi, I'm guessing. But yeah, so what you're saying is really, really important. Mothers do, we do have the responsibility to not try and program our children to be little mini me's. Stop forcing them to do things that they don't want to do. And I'll just give you another really quick example. We've got a really good theatre here, and they were open, had open auditions. And I said, finding activities for the kids to do, being homeschooled, we'll try a bit of everything. And I was like, oh, they've got open auditions to go and do this thing. It just sounded really cool. It was a Freddie Mercury thing. I was like, the music's going to be awesome. They've never done auditions in their lives. They're wacky, fun kids. They do stuff. I've taken 3 of them to go. 2 of them decided they wanted to audition, 1 didn't. They don't know what an audition is. They've seen maybe X Factor or whatever, but they don't know what it feels like to be in that situation. They've gone in, they've done something in front. I don't know what they got to do because they went and did the audition. They came back, they got the part. They went on, they was on stage. They've had all these people fucking watching them on stage, and they come back and they're just like, oh, meh. Because they don't know the whole, it's not like, right, you're going to be on stage. You got to do this. You got to do that right now. You're going to do this. It's not that whole kind of, we did make a joke that I was like the stage mum. It was just like another fucking activity. It's something for them to do. It's another experience for them to do, but I can see how it can become a thing because obviously we were in that position where you see it's like people trying to live their lives through their children instead of trying some people could be doing it just because they're trying to be good parents, but they don't realize that they're not helping them grow because they're putting too much of what they are on them. They want them to be something. They want them to be something. Some of the kids look exhausted, like they didn't want to be there. And at any point I said to my kids, like, you've been going to these auditions. At any point, if you don't want to go, you don't have to go back. It's a thing. You go, you do it. If you don't want to do it, you don't do it. It's just for fun.
But I see part of my job now, because I say this all the time, your children are not your children. They come through you, not from you. So we don't own them. But it's that. But I hope people don't get me wrong here, because what the point I'm trying to get to is there's been a great misunderstanding. And what can start out sometimes, because I was quite a sort of invalid type child, very physically ill and stuff like that, So what started out as good intentions, right, to keep me well and keep me protected, became control then, and I can see why it happened. And my mother is the person that I've loved more than anybody else and hated to the same degree. Right. And I'm being dead honest about it now. Now, I came back from seeing my mother before. She's in a nursing home down the road now. She's 93 years of age. She's only got a 10-second loop going on her. And I've got nothing but love for that woman now, because I've almost been shown her life as well now. Do you know what I mean? And so you get a bit of space and something like maybe it's compassion or understanding comes in just to see how we influence each other's lives. But my big thing now is helping people to reconnect to who they essentially are and to help them to shred or get shut of or disentangle themselves from all those programs we've been fed even before we were born. You know what I mean? So we got quite serious there at the end, but I think it's important, right? Just to try and get that across, because even Hitler was terrified of his mother. He was completely and under the will of his mother, Hitler. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, not that I'm saying that's the reason he was such a twat. You know what I
But
mean?
it could have been a big
Yeah,
part of it, though. To be fair, half the reason why he was like you saying that could have come from that, the influence, and that has been my biggest thing, Joe, because going through whatever I've been going through, i.e., with the whole spiritual stuff, I do not want to imprint on my kids.
yeah,
I don't want it be. I'm not an influencer. That's why I'm not doing certain things, because I don't want to be known as an influencer. I don't want to fucking influence anybody. Me putting my voice out there is because I want to say to people, I'm doing this too. I've got a lot of shit going on in my life, and sometimes I find it really, really hard. And I'm struggling just like a lot of people out there, and hopefully maybe one day I'll maybe get to stretch a bit more and you'll be able to know a bit more about my past and things, and help in that way. And that's the whole point. But when it comes to my children, I don't want to be their influence. I want their experience to be their influence. I want to see what they're capable of achieving through their own contact with whatever they're guided to do. And I'm just like the wind, like,
yeah,
maybe don't go that way.
yeah,
Maybe don't go that way, but it's gentle. If there's certain things that they're going to go and they're going to do it anyway. I'm not saying, oh, yeah, go out and just do whatever. And we're going to sit around and get mashed up together. No, there's certain regulations and things. But what
of
I'm trying to
course.
say is that I want to see them be who they are here to experience being, and by me putting too much of myself on them, they're going to grow up and be me and not them. I don't want that. There's already enough of me. You don't want any more of this.
I think, isn't that the root though of people pleasing? You see, you start off people pleasing, and then you become something other than who you are. And I think, I see kids now, and my grandkids now. They're only young, but they'll say to their mums, they'll say, "I don't want to do that, mum."
Hmm.
And I could never say that, because my mother said, "Do that." I did it because I
Hmm.
don't want to upset my mum. So I'm just using my own story. There's, at first, when I found out and saw it and all that sort of thing, I loathed her and this, that, and the other. And I'll just tell you the story. I don't know whether I said this last time, but when I started to realize it and I talked it through with somebody, that I was getting all these feelings coming up and I was full of resentment. And he said, well, basically, you've got to go along and make amends and explain why you're that feeling. Anyway, I did
Hmm.
this and I said to me one day, look, I'm so sorry, right? But the people I'm working with now, they've suggested that I should be more honest about how I'm feeling, right? So I said, I'm sorry for this, that, and the other, but I'm going to just be as honest as I can now. And some of the stuff that I'm going to do, it'll probably go against what you believe I should do. But from now on, I'm going to make my own choices, right? And my mother said, "Oh, Jim, he's starting, right?" And I said, "Mum," I said, "hang on, Mum, before you say anything. I knew this would upset you, but I'm going to start making choices based upon my own thinking." When my dad jumped up, "Don't talk to your mother like that." Fucking hell. And I said, shut up.
Oh
I said,
shit.
something came up in me and I said, "Shut up, the pair of you. Shut up. From this day on, I'm going to
Just let
make
me
my own
speak.
mind up and I'm going to take responsibility for what happens to me." Right. I
Hmm.
said, so that's all I've got to say. I'm sorry if you can't accept it, but I'm going now. This is no shit, this. I walked out of their place
Hmm.
where they lived, and it was as though the whole world went whoosh and opened right up in front of me. A whole big chunk of shit just left me. And from that day, I was 38 years of
Hmm.
age. From that day, I believe that was the first day of the start of my true life. And from then, Stacey, I've been
Mm.
finding out other bits that I've been hanging on to. And I think there's
Hmm.
nothing that we need to get hold of, but there's everything that we need to let go of,
Yeah,
because who
for
we
sure.
essentially are is never going to go away.
Hmm.
So that's what I've had to go through. And when my dad
Yeah,
said,
that's
and it was
beautiful.
the first time it stood up to me, "Dad, don't you talk to your mother like that." And I said, "And you can sit down as well." Right. So
Just enough is enough.
yeah, yeah. Christ, I was doing. We didn't have any plans to talk about anything particularly, did we? So we'll have to do this again down the line.
I'd love to, Joe. only time I have these conversations with you, it's just a good can opening of whoop ass.
Yeah,
Really, like you said, other situations we've been in our lives, we're here at this minute, and you know, I'm not you, you're not me, but we understand certain things. We are on the same sort of path. We're going through this situation at the same sort of pace. We do this, well, we're doing this together, you know, and we have these things like, you know, I didn't know about your wife and her snails and me and my snails. And it's with having these conversations that we know that we are moving forward in this space together. And
yeah.
whatever we're doing as a collective, we are actually creating ripples. We are creating, you know, I didn't have,
Is there anybody out there?
there's something going on. I think we're being kicked off. I think Spirit's like, will you just fucking
Yeah,
shut
you've
up?
said enough.
No, just,
I agree. I
it's
agree.
enough.
Yeah. So, Stacey, thank you. Dudette. I got that. Dudette. Call her Dudette because she's calling you dude. Right. So, thanks very much, love. It's
I
so
love
lovely
it,
to see
Joe.
you.
You too,
And
and I really hope we can do this again
we'll have
soon.
another one down the line, see what comes up. But just to say thank you everybody for listening. I hope that you've enjoyed that. And you know, take here's a little commandment, right? Give no shit, take no shit, get a life.
Love it. I love it. And make sure to pop those things
I will
into
do
the
the
chat at some
promises.
point. Yeah, I really want those
I
promises.
will.
I'd
I'll
like that.
do that soon, and I'll
Thank
also
you.
upload this onto YouTube as well.
Perfect. Joe, it was lovely. Thank
Nice
you
to
very
see you,
much. Give my
darling.
kind regards to your daughters and your lovely wife.
Will do. Bye, sweetheart.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.